What's going on, people? November Blue people specifically. This is Dylan Bradley.
I'm Alex.
Yeah, Alex Barsick.
Start that again.
No, that's cool. Okay. Also, I don't know how close I need to be to this mic.
That is a good call. I don't know either, but it looks like it's working on the level, so.
That's all right. But so for those that are newcomers, which will be almost everybody, this is we're gonna do a podcast on Nashville and the band and about country music. You know, just the Nashville scene and just anything Nashville that has to do with music. Of course, we're not gonna talk about the Titans unless they play the Steelers or something. But like,
I'm not good for that. I'm not a sports guy, but
that's all right.
We'll figure it out as we go.
We'll figure that out. So. But so last night there was crazy tornadoes, which kind of that usually happens in Nashville about once a year, and it was very scary. Honestly, actually, kind of Hendersonville got hit hard.
It did, unfortunately. So I hope everybody's recovering up there.
I know. I hope everybody is too.
But yeah, no. Yeah, I was around for the 2020 tornado. That wasn't fun.
I was at
you guys
home for my grandfather's funeral. I think wasn't that like February or March?
March of 2020.
Yeah. So I was at my grandfather's funeral, so I missed it. But
Okay.
that destroyed East Nashville.
I was still living on Belmont's campus at the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Throwing it back.
I slept right through it. Probably not good, but you know, I sort of did. I was actually, here's a story about that. Cause I was in my room. I was practicing for a guitar lesson and I had headphones on because it was at night, of course, and I didn't want to disturb anybody in the dorms. Yeah. And I remember sitting there practicing whatever, and it was probably 11:30 at night. It was getting late. Yeah. And I do remember getting like alerts on my phone of like, hey, there's bad weather coming, severe weather. Right? Yeah. And as a college student, I'm like, whatever, no big deal. It's just a thunderstorm, right? And so I'm like, okay, like at this time, like hard cut, wherever I am and like practicing, I'm going to go to bed. I have to get some sleep for my classes in the morning, whatever. And I remember at that point, that time came. And I do remember like all the wind and everything picking up outside and all that. And it was just not a good sound.
Yeah, and that's being from Pittsburgh, we don't have tornadoes. So
no, we don't.
It's such a Midwest thing, which I mean, I don't know. I never thought about because I didn't live here. And that being the case, like I was like, what are you supposed like? You're supposed to go in the basement, you know? But like, they don't have basements here. Yeah, they don't because of the clay,
right?
Like so you can't go anywhere.
You cannot, unfortunately. It's just
we have a basement, luckily, in our house. So
you are lucky. Yeah,
that's one of the only houses that has a basement.
True,
but it's kind of cool though. Have a basement at least because that's where all the recording stuff is.
That is where all of you guys do your recording. So how about let's do this. How about you tell me about how you got to Nashville, start to finish?
Oh wow, that's great. That's a great question, Alex. You're gonna have to answer the same one.
I will.
So basically, as many know, of November Blue, Tom and I started out as a duo, and then after we were in high school, and then we were playing around Pittsburgh, but like it was just like bars. It wasn't like a lot of like, you know, like stages and stuff like that. It was just basically bars and stuff. And then we got to Celebrations, which was like just down the road. And like I remember specifically, it was funny because Alex has known us for the owner of Celebrations. He's known us for almost 10 years. I mean, that's basically how long the band's been together. Well, at least Tom and I, but like November Blue is an entity, I guess. But I remember the one time we came and literally no one showed up. It was my dad and that was it. And Alex was like, talk to my dad. He's like, hey man, he's like, these guys have to bring people. Like, just can't just like, he's like, I can't pay. He paid us like $75, I think. Okay. And he was like, which is fair. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not like, as a business person, like like he probably shouldn't have paid us anything at all because literally nobody came. Sure. And then slowly after that, then Celebrations kind of became our hub for like, you know, locals and fans and everything. like that, which is just kind of a funny story, you know. Not talking bad about Alex by any means, because he's helped us and been supportive of us over many, many years.
He was real with you guys.
Yeah, he was very real.
I think that's fair to say.
Well,
he was fair with you. Fair and real with you.
Yeah, and that's what I think a good person will do. Like, I remember the one time he came up to us after, like, another show. It's just probably, like, I don't know, probably 4 years. Like, we were still in Pittsburgh, and he was like, hey, man, he's like, I just want to let you know, like, some people were saying, like, this is the same show that they saw, like, 6 months ago. He's like, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but he's like, you got to switch up your songs here, or, like, you got to do something because people are, like, leaving halfway through. And I was like, you know what? That's a great call, because, I mean, at the time, we don't really, like, you're not thinking about that. Being, like, that was probably, like, it was more than 4 years ago. That was probably 6, 7 years ago. Okay. And, you know, so I was, like, 20, you know? And, but anyways, he was real with us. And that's why we always go back, because he's real, and he's very good to us. But, yeah, so so then Tom went to college, and he went to Duquesne, and then I was like, I really want to do this music thing. Like, I really want to chase this, because I think we have something special. So then I went to Duquesne as well, got my education in music education, and then that's where Tom met Dean, and then Dean started to drum for us on what was our first album, No Longer. And then Dean was playing with you, John, and Brody. And then that's how I met John. And then down the line, then we met Brody. You were actually the last one that we met, because you were still kind of in high school, like barely, or you just went to college, I think.
Yes. So what year were you thinking about that? Like, what year
I was probably thinking like 2017, 2018.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, that adds up. I graduated high school in Pittsburgh in 2017 in the springtime.
Yeah, so that's probably when I first met you.
Probably. Yeah. That sounds right. Yeah. Yep. And I was in college by that fall, so.
Yeah. But then after that, and then we met you. You were the last one. And then, yeah, it was basically we all moved down to Nashville just because we were like, oh, we think we're good at this, you know? Well, I'm not saying we aren't, but, you know, like, it's like, we're good. And Pittsburgh has one of the crappiest scenes for country music, in my opinion.
I'd say music in general, just because it's not prioritized there. It's not a bad thing. It's just the culture there. It's a sports town.
Exactly. It's a sports town. It's a sports town. And that's fine. That's cool. I mean, but a lot of talented people come out of Pennsylvania. Not just Pittsburgh, but Pennsylvania in itself. Just so many do. So that's, you know, but still it's a weird thing. Like, it's just only sports. It's probably because it's so blue collar. I mean, that's probably why, but I don't know. But then, yeah. Anyways, moved down to Nashville. And we've been down here for about 4.5 years. So it's crazy. What about you, sir?
That's the timeline. Yeah. So, like I said, graduated high school in spring of 2017. And then my entire senior year, I was already decided on going to school for music or some type of music performance thing. Yeah. So I auditioned for Duquesne University, where most of you guys went. Yeah. I auditioned for Berklee College of Music up in Boston. Nice. And then I also auditioned for Belmont University in Nashville.
You probably would have hated Berklee.
Looking back, I'm glad I went to Belmont. I'll say that. Berklee puts out great players and whatnot, but
yeah, definitely.
It just wasn't the college atmosphere that I wanted. For sure. That was just my thing about it.
Definitely.
Funny enough, leading up into my senior year of high school, they had a Berklee guitar camp up there. I don't remember the official name of it, but it was something along the lines of that. And it was a week long, and you went up there and you actually stayed in the dorms up there as if you were a student for like a week.
Oh, that's cool.
So it was a good experience to kind of judge like what the atmosphere was like up there. But after doing that, I enjoyed it, but I also kind of had this like feeling inside of like, I don't know if this might be the school, if this is going to be the school for me.
For sure.
So then fast forward into my senior year, right? I auditioned at Duquesne first. It was in Pittsburgh. It was easy to get to and set up. I actually auditioned for Belmont second. I think later, closer to like Thanksgiving, Christmas time.
Okay, yeah.
And then I auditioned for Berkeley last. And I do have a funny Berkeley story, actually.
Yeah.
So in my audition up there, I went in person. I drove up there with my parents. God bless them for being there.
Yeah, definitely.
And just always being awesome. But like, I remember going up there, and I went into the audition that day, and you go in there and you wait in line at like a hallway or something like that.
Yeah.
And they kind of just call people in and out every few minutes, right? And do the whole audition thing. Well, I get in there. It's one guitar professor. I don't remember his name, but he had a really big jazz box type guitar, arch top. And then the other professor, like they told you in the pre-audition process, you would get one person on your instrument, one person that doesn't play your instrument. And the two of them would decide how your audition went, and that's how they would judge it.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, it was just what they did. And I remember got in there. They were very friendly to me, all awesome, right? I get in there, do the audition. I guess I did better than I maybe had thought I did in my head, just because I was nervous like any other student doing that. And so I went through the whole process, whatever. And then afterwards, you go one floor down in the building, and you do almost like an interview type process without your instrument.
Okay.
You're just talking to a admin type person for the college, like recruiting there. And I remember sitting in that conversation interview, and it was only about like 5 minutes long, and we're talking. She was friendly, whatever. And then at the very end, she goes, "Okay, like I think we're all wrapped up here. Like, do you have any questions?" And I'm sitting there, and I didn't go into that with any questions in my head, but just off top of my head in the moment, I was like, actually, yeah. I'm like, I'm just curious, like where do people around Boston, like where do they play? Where do kids at Berkeley, like where do they go play out?
That's a great question.
Do they play on the weekends? Do they go gig? Like what's there to do?
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
While you're a student, like can I go gig at this venue or that venue? Can I form a group and go do this or that? She couldn't give me an answer.
Wow.
Not a single answer.
That's bad.
She kind of just like stared at me and had this like, oh crap look in her face.
Yeah.
Which was kind of like, it just kind of, I don't know, it kind of turned me off from the school a little bit, because she's like, well, like people can do like, they can go like busking sometimes in the city of Boston, but sometimes you need a permit. And if you don't have the permit, or if a police officer comes by, they can possibly like fine you. And it was this whole thing. So I was like, you know what?
That's a terrible answer.
Yeah, it was tough because it was the most expensive college school at the time. It was.
That's so bad.
It was. Out of all three of the schools I auditioned for, they were the most expensive at the time. I don't know what their prices are now. I'm sure they're even more. But I will never forget walking out of that interview thing, and I was in the elevator, and I was literally on the way down to meet back up with my parents, who were waiting down in like the lobby area with other parents. And I remember sitting there in the elevator, like in my head, I'm like, I'm not telling anybody this yet, but I'm probably going to go to Belmont after that, because I knew at that point I had known I wanted to get out of Pittsburgh for college. I just wanted to get away. I wanted to go somewhere else. I thought I just kind of had to do that just to grow up a little bit, so to speak.
For sure.
And after that Berkeley experience, while everybody there was friendly and nice, it didn't seem like I was going to benefit there a little bit. So yeah, that's how I made that whole decision to go to Belmont.
You know, it's funny. I have a story as well about auditioning. Same process.
Okay.
You get called, like people wait in the hallway to get called in the room.
So what school is this?
It was Duquesne.
This is Duquesne.
The only school I auditioned for musically, because I was like, I want to get in here, and I know that that's the right move. So when I was there, my mom took me, and I already had lessons with Ganko, who is a professor at Duquesne. But he's a Bulgarian dude, just a very deep voice. And he was there, and then it was a woman named Claudia Pinza, who was, I want to say like mid-80s, late 80s. Like I had a voice teacher at the time that was like, she's there because of her father, who was, I think his name was Ezio Pinza, which he was like a huge movie star back in like the 20s.
It's quite the name.
I know, it's very Italian. So he was like, ironically enough, he was like, my voice teacher was like, we're going to do an Italian song. So like, we're going to do it, and you have to learn this. And it was like Caro Mio Ben, which was like one of the easiest little art songs. But anyways, so she's in there. It's Genko. It's another professor that's not there now, and another, I think her name was Patty. I forget her last name. There's 4 people. So I was like, that's very odd. Like, that's like, what if it's like 2 and 2? You know what I mean? Like, what comes out? I don't know. But anyways, I sing. Everything goes well. And then I didn't know this at the time that they were going to do this, but they're like, all right, here's a sheet of music, and you're going to sight read for us. And I was like, fuck. I was like, there is no way in hell I'm going to be able to do this. So she played, and I'm like, I can't. Like in choir, I would always just like come in when everybody else did. Like I was like, screw this counting thing. This is dumb. So I probably missed the entrance. I missed the entrance. She started over again. And then, so I was like, okay, well, I know where to come in. And then I came in and I just guessed. Guessed. We did
12
not,
options.
There is 12. I think I made it through no more than 8 measures. And then they were like, all right, we're good here. And I remember I came out and I was defeated. I was like, there's no way in hell. And then Genko came out and my mom was there. My mom was like, how'd he do? And he was like, very good. He's like, but sight reading, not so good. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know how to do that. Because I don't really still know how to read some music. Like,
no, yeah, that's fair.
I don't, as a singer, I'm like, I hear it and I sing it. I don't think you need to read music. I really don't think you need to.
The world is always changing. I always say that.
It is.
And and to your point, it comes down on what you're doing. Like, are you trying to perform with a classical type ensemble?
Exactly.
Wherever city you may be in, then you're probably going to have to read music to some extent, or not probably. That's a requirement, I would say.
For sure.
At a professional level.
Yeah, definitely. 100%.
Yeah. But then in places like here in Nashville, it's not like that.
Yeah. If you know how to play G, C, and D, I think you'll be all right.
Basically, and like, if you learn the Nashville number system, you get that down pretty well.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't know why. To me, that like, I'm a numbers person. I have that down maybe 50% of the time. Like, okay, 1, 4, 5. You go, back to 4.
That's fair.
There's the 2 minors, 6 minor. Like, I know that stuff, but like in the moment, I'm like, hold on, we're in C, so C, D, E, F, F's a 4, and G's a 5. Or, like I don't know why.
Get that. I mean, it's like anything else. The more you do it, the quicker and faster and
especially on your instrument. But I won't rush that. So continue.
Okay, no, you're
Belmont.
Good. Yeah. So yeah, by the springtime of my senior year of high school, after the whole college audition process and all that stuff, that's when I decided I was going to go to Belmont and whatnot. And so I graduated high school, spent the summer just gigging around Pittsburgh with John, Brody, and Dean a little bit here and there. And then by the time, August, September came down here to Nashville. Commercial music is what I studied at Belmont. Yeah. Specifically, guitar was my actual instrument. And then while I was down here, I went to school for 4 years, studied, met a bunch of people, a lot of great professors, teachers, other students who I went to school with who are now friends, and it is cool. I think it goes for every music school, seeing people that you went to school with in music, and then like now that you're out and about in like the world and stuff, and seeing who's still doing it, who's still working in it, who you're still friends with. It's just cool to see all that, I guess. But yeah, I came down here, like I said, 2017, and
let me ask you a question. So at Belmont, because I've heard a lot of different things. The people there, the students, but
student body.
No, specifically the people that are in music.
Okay, that
go to school for music. How are they? Like, are they like very narcissistic? Are they nice? Or you get a mix?
Yeah, I say you get a mix. I think you get a mix because you get a lot of people. I feel like it's almost like the effect that you get in a city like Los Angeles or something like that, or New York, where like everybody moves there because they want to be an actor, or they want to make it big in this field or whatever it might be. So it's the whole like everybody's from a small town or sometimes people are from the LA,
For sure,
New
yeah.
York City type places,
Yeah.
major cities like Chicago and those kind of areas.
Yeah.
It's kind of a mixture of all of that. So you get some people from small towns who are really, really down to earth, really nice. And you get other people and you find out, oh, their dad's a executive at Warner Music
Yeah.
in Hollywood. Oh, okay.
Makes sense.
That might be why he already has an internship doing this and that.
Yeah.
And that's not everybody by any means,
For
but
sure.
that does happen, I think, a little bit there.
Yeah.
But, I think overall I really enjoyed it,
Yeah.
And I think the people, at the end of the day, I think everybody's pretty cool there.
For sure.
I think you're always going to have some people that were a little annoying here and there.
For
but,
sure. No, I get that.
but that, that's part of life. I don't know.
Yeah, because I feel like Belmont's a very cool school to have the opportunity to work with people that, like, you may never get to work with again, or it might be some of your best friends.
True.
And that could go from Brad Paisley to, Vince Gill, or like,
Mhm.
you never know who's gonna pop in and stop in.
No, it's true. I mean, yeah, I remember I was in like a very basic music business class when I was a freshman, and I remember being in there and the professor saying, like, I know this is going to sound cliche on the first day, but he was like, look around the room, like the 45 of you that are in here right now, there's a very high chance that 35 of you are still going to be working in the industry here in Nashville, and you're all going to know each other when you're all 40, 50 years old,
sure.
possibly married with kids, like that.
Yeah.
It's very possible that happens. So, to hear that at that age, I think it's a little encouraging, for sure.
Because some people drop out and they make it, and some people drop out and never look back, and they just
that happened
back
too.
home.
I know plenty of kids who dropped out and they got on a major tour playing with insert whoever artist at the time, and they had their run with them, and then they still play on Broadway here in Nashville or whatever, and they make a living just like everybody else. So it's tough. It's like there's no right or wrong way to do it, in my opinion. It's just, it really comes down to what you want to get out of it.
Yeah, definitely.
But to that point of like just being in that community kind of thing there, the biggest thing I did enjoy about that was everybody, kind of losing my train of thought, like everybody there, like it seemed like maybe just being in Nashville, I think too. I think that was the other big selling point for me, is that, I was thinking about just thinking about it basic in my head of like, okay, I want to work in the music industry.
Yeah.
And at the time when I was a freshman, I thought, I was just going to play electric guitar. I was going to go to college. I was going to get my guitar degree in commercial music from Belmont University.
Yeah.
And my senior year, I was going to audition for a country artist, and I was going to get the job, and I was going to go on tour that summer, and that was the rest of my life, and life's going to be grand and great. And a little naive looking back on that, thinking that was going to work that way and that easily.
I get
that. But at the time, that's kind of what I thought. But, it kind of came down to the whole thing of like being in a city like Nashville, going to college there, meeting people, getting to do the whole music business thing. I think that was a other big selling point of the college. Not even that the college did that. It's just the fact that they're here in Nashville.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's a huge,
So I think that's just a big selling point of the place. So that place is always changing too. Even since I've graduated, I graduated in 2021. Place is always just growing and growing and growing.
Changed since 4 years ago when we moved here, which is not at the same time, but still like it's. I mean, it keeps getting higher. There's more skyscrapers and buildings, apartment buildings that are getting built by the day.
Exactly. Yeah. And then that was the funny thing too, being there and like hearing like stories of old people like, oh, I remember when this used to be like this or that, and I'm like, oh, that's not here anymore. And that was in 2018 or whatever when I was there as a student. Yeah. So it's all changed.
And it's a funny thing too is I remember talking to like some of my parents' friends and like even like older like people in their like 70s. They're like, yeah, when I went down to Nashville, like, we saw like Alan Jackson play on Broadway, or we saw so and so play on Broadway, and there was like. And then we never would have thought, like, oh, my God, they're one of the biggest faces on earth. And now, I mean, in my opinion, take it with a grain of salt. But if you play on Broadway, I don't think your chances of getting famous are any they're definitely not greater than they used to be. I think you have maybe even a lower percentage chance versus if you're playing around Nashville.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, Broadway, yeah. It was probably around the time I got down here to go to college. Like, that was around that time. I remember I went down on Broadway with my parents one night when we came here to visit to go do like the college tour thing.
Yeah.
And that night we went to Broadway or whatever. It was a weekday. It wasn't the busy season. It wasn't in the summer or anything. It was like sometime in the fall or winter. So it wasn't that busy down there. And I remember walking down there, and at that point there were still a lot of original Broadway bar places,
For sure.
I think, at the time, roughly. Yeah. At least what it seemed like. But at the time, a lot of the celebrity bars were coming in, and I think that became like the commercialization of Broadway a little bit, where instead of just being about, you know, hey, every bar has a new band playing in it, it became more of like, hey, like, we're making the most money every night, which
for sure
is good and bad at the same time, you know.
Well, yeah,
so.
I mean, I think it shows too when you have a security guard right next to you while you're playing. I mean, to me, that's a weird thing. Like, that's just, I mean, I get it. Like, you should be for everyone's safety, but like, that's to get people not to come up on the stage.
Right. And I've played down there a few times in my life and have had incidents with people trying to jump up on stage and getting kicked off. Yeah,
it for
happens.
sure. And
I mean,
I'm not saying that if you play on Broadway, you're not going to make it, but there are people that get stuck in that realm of, I just talked about when I was in Wright the other day. The guy, you know, he's been down here for 20 plus years, and he's like, I know so many people that played on Broadway, got accustomed to it, and made so much money that they actually are now a cover band, and they have to take about 10 steps, maybe even 20 steps back to go and just start over and be like, I need to do this original music. And that's the thing that I don't think a lot of people understand. Being not from, you know, Nashville, they're always thinking, well, are you playing on Broadway? Are you doing this? Like, do you like Blake Shelton's? You know, do you like Jason Aldean's? And it's like, it's good for money and it's a good thing. But like, if you're there all the time, I mean, that's why I like Martin's. I mean, we can play whatever we want and we can play originals. We can do whatever we want. Yeah. And the majority of the time, we'll play covers because we get tips for it, you know?
Sure.
But I mean, don't get me wrong. You still have to play covers to keep those people in the seats and there. And even like, I mean, recently, but the past 6 months, I feel like Martin's, they've like the people there have been like, you know, accepting the originals more.
A bit more responsive.
Yeah. Other than like this past, like, you know, couple gigs because it's November, now December. Yeah. No, like you're not going to get, you know, 500 plus people in there. Like it's like, you know, but yeah.
True. No, yeah, I can't agree more. Like Broadway is not, it is. It's because it has this like flashy look to it and there's always people down there partying. Yeah. So it's very attractive to think that, oh, that's where everybody hangs out. That's where all the big musicians hang out. That's where, Darius Rucker and everybody is like, no,
that's the last place they want to go.
Exactly. However, though, I do remember that time I did visit with my parents, Darius Rucker was filming a boot commercial.
Nice.
I want to say it was Honky Tonk Central. I could be wrong, but it was one of those Broadway bars with the little like metal balconies on the corner. It's
Honky Tonk Central.
I believe it was Honky Tonk Central. And he was there, and it was hilarious because they had all these TV cameras and lights, like really big shadow box light things like on him. Yeah. And he's like talking with like holding like a cowboy boot in his hand. I'm like, so maybe this is it. But then you get down here and you realize that's just a coincidence, or that's every once in a while that happens with award shows or commercials or things like that for bigger artists, but they don't hang out there.
No.
And to your point, that you do kind of become a cover band down there. And hey, if you want to do covers the rest of your life,
there's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
More power to you, and you can make a good living at it. That's the one cool thing about that is if that's your thing, Nashville's a great place to do that because on Broadway, there's always going to be work of some sort in that area if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, dude. But I remember specifically. This is a big reason. Like, I remember I was like, I need to get the hell out of Pittsburgh. There was a band that really liked us, and they had like, I mean, dude, this was like 8 years ago. Like, they had a huge following in Pittsburgh. I couldn't tell you their names. I could not. But they were a wedding band. And I was like, okay. And I remember meeting with them, and they were like, yeah, you just got to do like a couple weddings and stuff like that. And that's how you kind of get followers and stuff. And I was like, that sounds terrible. Why the
Right.
hell? I don't like weddings in general.
Mhm.
Why would I even want to play for
It'll make
3
you a wedding
hours?
band.
Yeah,
To
exactly.
your
It'll make
point.
you a wedding band, and
Which
that's
is cool.
it.
If you
It's
wanna do
not,
it, but
you know.
yeah.
And I recently, well, not recently, but in the past year, I'd say I was always trying to chase like what is going to make, you, us, everybody famous or more money or whatever. And I've learned that it's actually don't chase that. It's just be creative and do the stuff that you want to do.
Yeah.
And that's a huge part of a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people will stick to the algorithm or do it. And I think that you still have to, don't get me wrong, but like there's some people that like they write songs like about just the dumbest stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how do you have 30,000 followers when you're
Mhm.
singing about, like it's the people that make the country music stereotype true. Like those people like, and I get it. Like some people don't like Morgan Wall and they don't like Hardy. They don't like those people. And I get that. I mean, in a lot like recently 90s country has been coming like back up as like a huge thing because we kind of grew up in that. I mean, me more than you, but still you've been around it probably more than me.
Well, and it was on the radio throughout the entire 2000s, even though it's labeled as 90s country music, it's all kind of followed into that era. So
but just going back to all of it. No, I think that's like just there's so many people down here. I know so many people that I'm like I don't know how, and I think the girls get an upper hand because if they're pretty, like I'm just being real. Like they just like so many people they don't like they're just like oh she's pretty to look at and she has a nice voice. Her songwriting's terrible, but it doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
It doesn't matter because we have 10 other songwriters here in town that can make a song for her.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, Nashville is so. It's crazy. Nashville is wild. Like
it's more business driven, I think, than people might think.
Oh, definitely, 100%.
I think everybody comes here thinking, like, oh, it's just all about the art, man, and it's like, well, it is in different pockets and different areas, but
I think there are some. I think how do I want to explain this? Like, there's certain labels and publishing companies that focus on the art and focus on how the artist feels versus opposite, where it's about numbers and ticket sales
how
and
the
all
label
of that.
feels, or
what
would radio do with this? That's always
100%.
a question you hear. Yeah,
a lot of people don't know. You have to have north of $300,000 to get a song on the radio or have a radio like package to be like, hey, listen to this. And that's not a guarantee you're getting on the radio.
True.
Like that's a lot of money. For some people, that's working 4, 5, 6 years.
Right.
And just to bank on one song. For some people, it's like, okay.
I mean, that's the price of a very small home now.
Yeah.
Think about it. It is. I mean, that's people don't even. I mean, yeah. Exactly.
And then there's go on TikTok and a song blows up and it's like, oh, this is gonna be a #1 song. It's like, where is the the connection? It's so weird. But I was gonna say something else. I forget what I was gonna say about. Oh, but like there's just like I think people like Zach Bryan, even though I don't listen to him, I think he is a perfect example of he just did his own thing. It caught fire and bam. And he like I remember he said on like I think it was Rogan, he's like, I just posted videos on Twitter. Like that was my thing.
Right.
And then boom. Like it just he was in the Navy and they discharged him because he was so popular.
He was too popular. Like, I do remember hearing that.
That's wild to me.
Yeah. Well, and that even gets to the whole point of like, I feel like, especially here where it's just like it's an entire melting pot of everybody coming in with all their own influences in music and their own ideas of how they want to do things. Yeah. Some things work for some people. If somebody else tried to copy the same exact thing, chances are it probably won't work.
For sure.
Because it's just like in art in music is so subjective anyways.
Yeah.
So then the business side of art and music becomes subjective too, right? In my opinion, where it's like, it's great if that worked with Zach Bryan, but for some people that would never work because that's not who they are, or that's not their style or their aesthetic, or like there's so many things and factors that go into that. So like to that point, like it's just like it is like the industry and just being here can sometimes mess with your head a little bit, because it's just like, oh wow, like that person's often doing that, and you go, oh wait, I should do that, and maybe some of it would benefit you, and sometimes maybe it won't. So it's this tough mind game you have to play with yourself sometimes to figure out what's the best route to go.
For sure. Yeah, and I think that'll drive people insane. You know, I mean, there's people that will switch genres because of it, and switch how they dress, and which is fine. You know what I mean? Go ahead and do that. But like, I think at the end of the day, people can see like what is fake and what is not, and I think the good fake stuff. Like, to me, when I think of modern country music, I think of it as McDonald's. Look, we all love McDonald's. We all will get McDonald's once a month or something, like whatever. Like it's probably maybe, or we can go Chick-fil-A, but like, no, no, I'll go back to McDonald's, but like McDonald's, it's the country, like modern country music is that hamburger, you know what I mean? That Big Mac. You're like, damn. You're
going to find it everywhere.
Exactly. You're going to find it everywhere, but it's the best damn burger, like for nothing. But that's, who's to say it's like Americana down the street. It's actually a mom and pop like diner, and they have a way better burger. But
been around 45 years or
exactly.
something. Yeah,
but you still go back to the McDonald's Big Mac because you know it's good.
Sure.
And I feel like that's modern country music right now, which is like Morgan and Hardy and Luke, and I'm not going to put Cody. Maybe I put Cody in there. Chris is, get him out of there. He's his own thing. He's phenomenal. He's great.
He's a rarity.
Exactly. He is
once in a generation type person, I think.
Yes, I agree.
To your point, yeah.
But like, I know a lot of people that say I hate country music, but I love Morgan Wallen. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, interesting. Like, why? You know? And it's usually about, it has nothing to do with the genre. It's just his voice, or it's the song, which makes sense. But I feel like a lot of people, they can't, they like modern country music, and they're just afraid to say it. But like, we all go to McDonald's. We all eat that burger,
Good point. That's a good point.
I mean, that's
I get it.
My opinion on it.
No, I got you. No, I mean, and to even like bounce off that, like Lainey, like I always think like Lainey Wilson's like the big right now. Currently, she's like one of the big female artists right now, and like someone like her, like she always talks about the whole 10-year town concept. Yeah, because like she said it a lot of times on interviews and all that. Yeah, but like when she got to Nashville, she lived in, I believe, her producer's driveway in a camper. Or something like that. And it was in Bellevue, which is a suburb here in Nashville. Yeah. And she lived there like right when she started. But the coolest thing is like seeing, there was a photo of her and Luke Combs at a whiskey jam. Yeah. And both of them are like nobody at the time. Yeah. And it's just like a typical, like, it looks like just a friend photo. It's like, it's very genuine and cool to see that.
And
but
that's the cool thing about Nashville too. It's like, we're, I think, surrounded by a lot of people that we believe in and, might not be getting the opportunities that they're supposed to. And we're also around people that, we've met or been in the presence of a couple times, like acquaintances, not much friends, that like, they're doing really well, have over 100,000 followers, have a following where they can go out to California, Las Vegas.
Already build a career too sometimes, like other people. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. But I think that's going kind of full circle back to like Belmont and community. I think that's what the best thing about Nashville is that, I most likely like 8-9 times out of 10 will go out somewhere in the city and see someone I know that is in music. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying like, I'm going down like whatever Fleet Street and second or 1 second, but I'm like, going to like pitch meeting or like whiskey jam or like a musical environment, I should say.
No, sure. Yeah, I mean, in terms of like advice, I always tell the people is like, I do firmly believe that, especially Nashville, your talent will only get you so far.
For sure.
There's a lot of talented people here, and I would always hear it when I was, the first couple years I was here, it was like, oh, the guy checking out your groceries at Kroger is probably a better guitar player than you. And sometimes that's true. I do remember meeting somebody who was a guitar student at Belmont a few years ahead of me. Yeah. I remember hearing him in the guitar seminar playing, and he was also bagging my groceries at Kroger one day on 21st Avenue. I'm like, wow. Like, he is better than me.
For sure, yeah.
But it's just ironic how that it is kind of true. But to that point is like going out, meeting people, always having like a good rapport, and like just overall just being kind and just having a good attitude about all of it. I think too is a good way to go about it. Because,
definitely, attitude gets you, and like personality gets you.
Yeah,
probably farther than talent. Because if you're really good, but you're a POS, no one's gonna want to work with you.
True.
It does not matter, and I've heard so many stories about that and so many cases about that.
Right.
Like, it just, I feel bad because I'm like, man, I wanna help you out, but you can't tell someone, hey, that's the wrong thing to say.
Right.
That's tough.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It is. No, it is. It's just, yeah. I think that's where like I've had people like describe it to me where like in Nashville you have like all these like spokes on a wheel or something, so to speak.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And like all of those spokes on the wheel have to be connected properly and working properly in order for the wheel to turn, right?
For sure.
And that's how I think about it when it comes to like a career in music, is like you have to have all those things firing on all cylinders, so to speak, and moving correctly to have it all work.
Definitely.
So I think that's another part of it too, is like I said, like maybe talent's one of them, maybe personality's the other, maybe showing up on time's the other, maybe having like being responsible and like learning music that you're supposed to learn if you have to learn it to play for somebody. Or
for sure.
It's all those little details, I think, that really make you stand out or differentiate you from other people and get you further along than just saying, oh, look at me, I can do this one really cool trick on this instrument or this voice, or oh, I can sing this hook. That's cool.
Yeah.
It might get you a viral moment.
For sure.
And that's awesome too, but because that's a part of today's world. But it's not for longevity and like actually doing this the rest of your life. You need all those things to be working.
I guess, definitely. And there's just so many people in this city that like, I think it doesn't. You don't necessarily have to go off of like we were talking about before, like what someone else did. Because when I look back on like all the people that got me into modern country music or just country music, I mean, it was people that did their own thing. I mean, like Sturgill, I mean, he's like talked about kind of as like a god amongst many country artists, because you listen to his 5, I guess he has 7 albums now, but like other than the 2 bluegrass that I will say they're the same genre.
Sure.
First one's country, second one is like rock, like psychedelic rock. Third one is like soulful. I don't even know, like Americana soul, maybe.
Was that the?
I mean, that's the 4th I'm thinking of.
Was that the one with he covered In Bloom by Nirvana?
I don't know.
The like Ocean. It's kind of about like
it's a sea.
Dad's
the sea stories.
Yes.
Yeah, isn't that his 3rd, right?
I think it is Sea Stories. Now you say that. I think
there's another one too. There's a 4th. Not the Japanese
there is
one.
Oh, not that one.
I don't
that's
think
like a very
is.
rock sounding.
It's very rock. Like that's
like,
very
almost like psychedelic.
Like I would say his second album is psychedelic. The 4th one is like electronic rock.
Yes, electronic.
Like,
that's the word.
Because he wrote that for that anime movie
like
or whatever. I think I watched that one night, but I was drunk, so I definitely don't remember what it was about. It did not stick with me.
Yeah.
But no, but they talk about Sturgill because he did his own thing. But a lot of people don't know is that he was 30-some years old, was working on the railroad as like a high up guy, had the money to go and do that and not blow it, but like had the money to go and make a career. I mean, money can also get you so far in this.
It does, yeah.
Well,
and to that point, I mean, look at we were talking about earlier. Look at like the rarity and like anomaly like Chris Stapleton is, where he, for anybody who doesn't know, he was a songwriter in Nashville way before he was ever Chris Stapleton, the artist. So I guess early 2000s, I believe, he was, he was a songwriter here in town, and he had a publishing deal to write songs for a publishing company, and a lot of his songs would get cut and put on artist albums, and he'd do really well financially with that. I believe this is what it seems like. He was already doing pretty well beforehand.
Yeah, I don't know how you can hear his voice as someone that's like it would just starting out. Like, I don't know how you can hear that voice and be like, hey, we're not going to take the chance on you.
Sure.
Like, that's like,
that
someone messed that up.
Oh, yeah.
Well, a lot of people messed that up.
Well, and the other thing too is I don't know, because so I say this just as an opinion, I guess. But like maybe he didn't want to be an artist.
True, that's
at the
fair.
time.
Maybe he didn't. I mean,
because he does.
He's a big guy.
He is in. I have heard, and I think he's admitted in interviews before that he's a very reserved, like,
100%.
person. He's not a party animal. He doesn't.
He's
not,
sober
like,
now too.
Right. That's what I've heard too. But funny story about him. I remember hearing a demo of him way back when he was a songwriter. Because
this is wild. Dude.
It is. It's cool. Way back before he had, before he was Chris Stapleton, the artist.
Yeah.
Because he had such a great voice, he would write songs on Music Row all the time there, and people would ask him to sing on their demos, even if he didn't write the song.
Yeah,
he would do that for people. And I guess he was at whatever publishing company it was at that day. He was writing with somebody or whatever, and the writing session wrapped up. They were packing up and they were leaving, and he was walking out of the building, and this other group of songwriters had just written "It's 5 O'Clock Somewhere," which turned out to be the big Jimmy Buffett hit, as everybody knows. So, and with Alan Jackson. So they go, "Hey, Chris, like, hey, man, like, how you doing? Like, doing well, man?" He's like, "Oh, yeah." He's like, "I'm getting out of here. Just wrapped up a writing session or whatever."
Yeah.
They're like, "Hey, like, we have this really cool song. Like, hey, do you want to sing on it really quick? Just come into the studio and just pop in on it." So he literally walked in there and sang on "It's 5 O'Clock Somewhere."
That's
and I got to hear the original demo of him singing it with just like an acoustic. And it is mind-boggling. It's weird.
I'm sure
it is though, because it's like, you think of Jimmy Buffett, like the guy in like khakis and like a Hawaiian shirt, a luau, flower necklacing around his neck. Yeah, lei. I called it luau. That's wrong.
All right. It's a luau's
that's the skirt.
The vent.
No,
I'm pretty sure. Really?
I don't know. I'm probably wrong.
You should know this stuff because
yeah.
pedal steel originated in Hawaii.
You're not wrong. I should.
So that makes you a bad person.
I'm not staying true to my instrument, Dylan. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. But anyways, that was a cool
Jimmy Buffet.
That was a cool story hearing about that and hearing it. Yeah. Just hearing that.
We also, a lot of people probably don't know this, but we almost cut a Stapleton song.
That is true, actually.
I always forget about that.
I actually forget about that too until you just mentioned it.
Yeah.
Actually.
I mean, I'd never liked the song, which is like, no offense to Christopher. But that song was not my favorite song I've ever heard.
It wasn't my favorite song I've ever heard. I think the excitement saying, "Hey, we have the opportunity to do that," I think kind of maybe swayed us a little bit into possibly doing it, even though we didn't, like you said.
Well, I think there's also a reason why they pitched the song to us is they've never heard of our band before.
That too.
And they're probably like, "Hey, dumbasses,
let's see what these guys do.
You wanna do this?"
Yeah.
And no, it was not a good. It was not my favorite song.
But and to that point, he writes like, they said at one point he was writing like 1,000 songs a year. That could be wrong. That might be way inflated of a number because that's a lot. When I'm thinking about it.
If you do the math, if you write 3 songs a day, that's a lot.
That's wrong.
Man's got to take off Christmas. Man.
I take that back. That's probably.
We'll go 500. We'll go 500.
He wrote a lot though.
Yeah,
like his catalog is huge. Apparently,
no, I mean, not to make this about me, but I one night went through my notes and like cataloged like songs, and I cataloged 75 songs over 2 years. But I know for a fact that there's songs in there that I missed or are only on a recording. Okay. And I like I probably like saw something and I skipped over it. I know there's at least 100, which still like is kind of like, that's kind of crappy in my opinion. Like I should be probably, and the songwriter should be probably writing 100 songs a year, because out of those 100 songs, about one of them is going to be the one that gets cut.
Sure.
You know what I mean? The more songs you write, the better. And that's what I mean. I wrote a song last night. And it's so bad. It was so bad. It was so.
Did you listen to it this morning? And we're
no, I was as I was playing it, I was like, this song sucked. But the chorus was like the bread and the butter. That's what a lot of people, I don't think, realize of how when you do a verse and a chorus, or verse, pre-chorus, chorus, like people probably don't realize the fluidity of going into it and how it is actually hard, because nowadays you have a verse to say everything to lead up to the chorus.
Right.
That's usually not enough. You know what I mean? Like, people would be like, I bought her a drink. She smiled at me. I took her hand. We danced. And the chorus is like, and then we went out in our truck bed. And it's like, okay, I guess that makes it simple to get there, but still, like, there's other better ways of saying that stuff. But it's hard. That's why if you look at songwriting credits, there's 3 to 6 people on songs. Yeah. Which is sometimes. 6 is way too much. Like, 4 should be the max, but also, like, in a publishing company, they probably write with 3 and then they give it to the next 3 and blah, blah, blah. And if the artist is on it.
We could even talk about that a little bit too, because, like, although I've never been out to LA before or anything like that, I've always heard out there, like in California and with a lot of, like, especially the pop world specifically, if somebody creates like some type of drum beat for a song, they get a writing credit. Yeah, I've heard that actually out there, and that's how, like, LA can differ from Nashville, where Nashville, majority of the time, people evenly split a song up. I would say that's, like, the standard of going about things. Yeah. But in LA, like, sometimes, like, they'll actually divide up, like, hey, I wrote, 25% of the lyrics, so therefore, and then 10% of the music, so I should get 35. Like, they literally will start doing that kind of stuff, and they start splitting hairs out there, and that's where the problem. There's a lot of problems with that, which is, I think, there is probably a good thing that Nashville doesn't do that. And because people start fighting over that, and all of a sudden they're not friendly anymore, and
for sure.
It doesn't create a good environment.
Yeah, it definitely. Well, it's nice about us because the 6 of us get the royalties, which, even though, like, 3 of us wrote it, 1 wrote it, whatever, like, we all still get the royalties, which is a good thing. But there's also the songwriting credits and the songwriting portion of it, of who gets paid, blah, 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 yada, 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 whatever. But
yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, I mean, songwriting here, I think, there's a reason I think people call it the songwriting capital of the world. There's not only all of that, where people split songs evenly and there's always collaboration happening, but there's also plenty of, like, venues around here, like, go and actually test their songs out and see if they work or if they don't.
That's like pitch meeting. Yeah. Which is cool. Like, they have that environment, which is not, like, they are a very different, I don't want to call it like a songwriter round, but it is. You know what I mean? Like, they have a full band song. So for people that don't know, in a songwriting round, there's usually 3 to 4 people on stage, and they get like 2 or 3 songs. So it goes like 1, 2, 3, 4, then back down 1, 2, 3, 4, and then that's
they usually play an acoustic just with themselves. They're just accompanying themselves.
Some people might have a guitar player with them, which is I'm not DB.
Sometimes it's rare they have a piano, but that's not common.
I've actually when we first moved down here, I saw a lot of people with pianos. Yeah, which I was like,
okay,
interesting. But I mean, like, it's whatever. But but pitch meeting is basically you have a full band, and then as musicians, as very good musicians, you should be able to learn a song fairly quickly, especially songs that are very, like, simple, like like just not pop music, but like
commercial
modern
music.
Yeah, exactly.
Say commercial music. It kind of encompasses style.
And they're all extremely good players, and they will pick a song, or they'll pick a person in a song, and the person comes up and says, oh, the song's in C, like you said, it goes 1, 4, 5, or, and they go, well, here, let's play it a little bit, and they go, okay, what's the chorus? And that process maybe takes like 30 seconds, and they just go into the song, and it's really cool. It's a really cool thing for people to, number one, get their confidence to play with a band, which I, ironically, never thought was like a thing until I talked to someone. Like, this is like last week. They were like, I actually never got my confidence to play with a band until I actually went up at the pitch meeting thing. Sure. And I was like, wow. We're like, that's all I know is playing with a band. Playing solo to me is so weird. Like, I don't know why, but I mean, I've done it many times and still do, but like, I don't know. To me, it's weird, but I mean, and also I think bands are like playing with other people is way better. Just solo music. I mean, it's like whatever. And I mean solo, like playing by yourself in front of people, not like solo artist.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's just more people on stage, the more energy you can create with the music because you have a whole band. So it just it creates a better live experience for the musicians who love playing music, but also the audience, obviously, too.
For sure.
So
yeah, definitely. I mean, going back to kind of what you're saying with the beat drum and all that, I get the credit thing on that because drums, they make everything. Yeah. I mean, that's what spins this whole music world around.
Yeah.
If you don't have a kick-ass player or kick-ass drums on a song,
Mm-hmm.
and it can be really simple too. I mean, that's why people talk so much crap on Ringo, but Ringo's like, I mean, Ringo, a lot of people are influenced by him because he did it all. I mean, he's a phenomenal drummer.
Mm-hmm.
If you say Ringo sucks, you suck. But no. You know, I think Ringo's one of the top 10 drummers ever.
Yeah.
Because the Beatles are the best band ever. I will go down.
Influential, I would say.
Yeah.
For sure, because they were so popular. Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
I'd go with that.
Yeah, the Beatles. John and I, we so bad. Nevin James was in town, and he came in like really late, and John and I had been drinking and watching football, and then I told Nevin, I said one of my favorite things to do is sit around and listen to music, but like we'll like take turns, so like he'll play a song, I'll play a song, John will play a song, and then we ended up doing that until 3 a.m.
Yeah, during the little songwriter round.
Yeah, but just with other people's music.
That's cool.
Yeah, no, it is cool because then I get to learn music that I've never heard before.
Mm-hmm.
But then Nevin was like, "All right, I'm gonna go to bed," and I was like, "Okay, yeah, like I should probably go to bed. It's 3 a.m." And then John was like, "I'm gonna listen to one more song." So I sit down and listen to one more song with him, and then he played a Beatles song, and I said something like, "This song sucks," and he was like, "What do you mean?" And then we spent 3 more hours listening to the Beatles. And we didn't get through every song, obviously, because their catalog is massive. But, yeah, the Beatles are the best band.
You know what? To that point, though, that brings up another good point about, like, being in music and all that. The hang factor of, like, being around people and, like it all goes back to what we were saying earlier about, like, personality and attitude and all that.
For sure.
Like, without your instrument in your hand, can you just hang out with a group of people you're around?
Yeah.
And just everybody's having a good time, and you know what I mean? Like, to that point though, where like you started out just listening to music, but then it became the whole hang factor for that much time, you know?
Dude,
so
I don't know why I thought of this story. One of the funniest, it's not that funny, but it was very funny to me. We had a bass player. I won't say his name. This is not a bad story. But in college, he was Tom and I's first bass player, and he was a great hang, like great guy, like, and all the boys back like in the band love him. But there would be times where we wouldn't find him, like we couldn't find him, like, and we were at a show or something, you know, like we do sound check, and he's like, all right, I'm gonna like go get something to eat or whatever, like I'm gonna go to the bathroom, and you don't see him for an hour, and you're like, dude, where is this guy? You text him, like doesn't answer. I'm not kidding. Every single time when we found him, he was with a dog, and it wasn't his dog. Like, he just, like, I remember specifically, we were at the Smiling Moose, and we come down, and he's petting some homeless guy's dog. And then it happened at another time, too. It was just another random dog. I'm like, yo, where are you finding these dogs? It was so funny.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, dude. He was great. He's great. He's a good hang. He's a great hang.
I mean,
yeah, but I agree. Cool. Great dude. There's some people that are just some sticks in the mud that like, and I get it, especially if they're a hired gun. I understand that. If it's not gonna be like, you know, if it's like, oh, for a one-time show, whatever, I understand that. Yeah. But like you're saying, I mean, I would say a majority of the people that we've like hired to fill in have been pretty good hangs. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, but like you're saying, I mean, they like that's. I'm not gonna go into something and be like, oh, well, you're doing this wrong. You know what I mean? Right. Like, it's like, oh, well, it's your song, it's your music. I can't really like, you know, that's one way to get fired. So
as a hired gun come in and start trying to overtake everything. Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, there is a lot to be said about just showing up and doing what you were asked, and then if they ask you to do more, then gladly do more, but for sure, don't just completely
I think I steered this conversation in the wrong direction, though. I think what you're trying to say is like, you don't have to, but being the guy that says, hey, let's go get a drink, you know, like after a show, during a show, you know, showing up to someone else's show, meeting other people, and like, oh, sit down, let's have a drink. You know what I mean? Like, that goes way further than being a good artist I think, because then people like you
Mm-hmm.
and they can't say to your face you suck. But like still, like I mean, it's just that's the way it is.
You do have a story about that.
What?
If you would like to share, or we can save it for another time.
Wait, what story is it?
The you suck.
Oh no, I'll save that story.
We'll save it for another time. But
is it, how much time does that say? Does that say an hour? Have we gone an hour?
I honestly can't see except my eyes are bad. I don't have my
Your
glasses
blind
on.
is a damn bat. It says there's a 2 above it. It says 2:00. There's no way we've gone for 2 hours.
It's probably an hour.
It's probably an hour. It's 3. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, you know what? We'll wrap this up.
We can wrap it.
If you guys have any questions, we'll answer them. Just comment below. This is the first one, so I highly doubt there's going to be like more than like a couple questions.
True.
If anyone watches this, that is. But yeah, I don't know. We were thinking about, we don't have a name for this podcast yet, but I think by the third one we will, because this is pre-recorded. I can't say the date right now, but
we kind of just wanted to like today just throw the microphones up and cameras and just kind of see what happened and just feel it out.
Yeah.
And then as time goes, I think we'll narrow down a bit more of like what this whole thing is actually specifically about. But
yeah,
I think,
definitely.
I think it's mainly what I would right now. I think it's about like music, life, and living in Nashville.
Yeah, I think Nashville's the biggest point, because I think a lot of people don't understand what it's like living in Nashville. I think everyone thinks of Nashville, they think of Broadway. Like, and that's not true. Mm-hmm. That's not true at all. Like, I actually think Broadway has little. I shouldn't say that, but like, Broadway's not the North Star by any means.
Sure.
No,
exactly. And I think down the line too, I think we would like to get to a point where we could bring on guests or have our other musician friends on and talk about their story, their life.
We'll definitely bring on the boys, whoever wants to be involved. But I mean, this is just all about getting to know us, getting to know November Blue, our music, and Nashville. I mean, we didn't even talk about our music today, but that's all right.
I guess we didn't, but
that's all right.
We got sidetracked a lot, but it's okay.
We'll save it for next episode.
Yeah. We'll be all right.
Yeah, we will. And then we'll have a name. But this will be out in the new year, I would imagine.
Cool.
New year, new us, November Blue.
Might be a podcast name.
It can't be.
No? Well, I liked it.
All right. This is your boys, and we're signing off. Peace.